Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lattes on My Mind.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Felina.
What are we going to be talking about today, Felina?
Today, we're going to be talking about Skinwalkers. Ooh. So grab your lattes and join us for the journey. Hannah, we've had an interesting week.
I don't even know where to begin.
I think we should start with Friday night.
Yeah, guys. Okay, so your husband, Marshall, plays in a band.
Yes.
Occasionally, right?
It was his last gig, last official gig with this band. He's going to be filling in as he can from here on out.
Yeah, so he was having a gig at a sports type bar this past weekend.
Yeah.
And this is the first time Wes and I have ever attended one because I've been meaning to go to this place with you as well as go listen to Marshall and his band. And man,
there was an individual there. He was on a wild ride.
We still don't know his name, which is fine.
We don't know his name. Hannah introduced herself and he said, "Hi, Hannah, I'm Hannah," and then just kept rolling. And I tried to ask his name twice. I tried twice to ask his name.
Yeah, so we were observing this guy, and we're already like, haha, this guy's, he's kind of being he's had a little, something's going on.
He's feeling good.
He's feeling good. And so I think, first of all, he sees us. I don't know what drew his attention.
I think it was he was there with two friends, and one of his friends was done with him.
Yeah,
and
really done.
He was acting a fool. And I made eye contact with the friend and started laughing because of what the guy had just done. I can't even remember. He had done something silly. And then the friend started laughing, and I think it was my fault. I think he told his friend, "Hey, these people are laughing at you. Chill, calm down."
So then it was me. Yeah, he comes over there, right? And he has his beer with him.
Yeah.
And he's like, and we're just sitting there, we were talking some, but it was
But it's hard to talk at a gig, it's loud, so especially that one when we were sitting, we were close to the speaker.
Yeah.
So we weren't really saying much. We were kind of just hanging out.
Oh, you know what? No, he comes up behind Wes first, right? That's how it started.
Yeah, so he was dancing and he went up behind Wes.
My husband, Wes, who, if you guys know him, is not a touchy person, is very reserved, but I mean, he's also thinks things are funny and stuff like that, but he doesn't he's not a touchy huggy feely person, maybe slightly with me, but even still
yeah, he came up behind him, this mystery man, and he was dancing, and he's touched Wes's hips,
grabbed his
hips and was trying to make him sway his hips, and Wes was like,
come on, dance.
Yeah.
And Wes was if you could see his face, he was what? He was not expecting anyone behind him, and all of a sudden this guy is grabbing his hips,
and then we were cracking up,
and we're oh my gosh, and laughing.
Yeah. And then he came back, and then he came around and sat down and introduced himself using air quotes, because Hannah said, "I'm Hannah." He said, "What's your name?" She goes, "I'm Hannah." He goes, "Hi, Hannah, I'm Hannah."
And I was like, okay, is this a joke? Because I thought he was going to do it to you next.
But then he didn't.
And then he did it. And then you go, "What's your name?"
And then he blew right past it. And then again, I was like, okay, but what's your name? And then he blew right past it again.
And then he goes, what's your name to Wes, right? Yeah. And then he's like, "Wes, I like Wes.
Yeah. Wes
is cool." Yeah. He goes, "I like you all. You guys are fun."
And we were just sitting there saying nothing.
and then so, I don't know what happened.
And then he asked Wes, he was commenting on Wes's beard, and he was like, "Did you do that yourself? That's so even. Oh my gosh." And then he was like, "Yeah, I did." And then he got up and he went over and he grabbed Wes's face and he brings him in and kisses his cheek.
And
Wes was like, "Ugh."
I literally, oh my gosh, when I saw this, when he was coming around, I was like, this man is about to kiss my husband on the cheek or something. That's what went through my head. Is he gonna kiss him? Because the way he was like, "I like your beard," and then he immediately got up.
Yeah.
When Wes was like, "Yeah, I did it myself," and you could tell the guy was I don't know, having a moment,
a bromance,
but it. And then,
first he asked if he could smack his butt.
Yeah.
And then Wes was like, "No." He goes, "Well, then wouldn't he smack mine?"
I know. Wes is like, "I'm good.
No, thanks."
And then, so the last thing that happened, which was, I don't know which was weirder, the kiss or this one. But he is like, "Oh man, look, he's got the belt. Well, he looked at his belt.
Yeah, then he pulled up his shirt.
Yeah,
so I was like, I bet you he's got and he pulled up his shirt and he goes, he's got a belt on. He goes, oh man, and the Vans,
the
canvas Vans. This is important to the story.
The canvas Vans, they're like light gray.
Yeah. And he pulled them up. He goes, oh, hold on. And then he left. And we were like, okay, cool. And then he came back with a rag. He went and he asked the bar for a rag.
Yeah.
And he came back with a rag and he started like cleaning Wes's shoes.
Well, he put a chair there and had Wes put his foot up on the chair.
Yeah. He was like, put your foot. He gave him that haktu.
He spit on my husband's shoes to clean them.
He literally, both of them.
Both of them. His mouth was like on my husband's shoes.
Yeah, and then he returned the rag and he came back and he started giving Wes a massage.
Oh, I forgot about the massage. Yeah, the shoulder massage.
Yeah, and Wes was like, oh my God.
Isn't that when like you finally made eye contact with Marshall?
Yeah.
It was like
yeah, I made eye contact with Marshall and he was like, what is happening? And he started cracking up and he had texted me. He said, what's happening over there? But I didn't see it until that point.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh.
And of course, like Wes was obviously like, this is awkward and this is weird, but like, as you know, he studies people for a living. Like that's his thing, is like psychologically analyzing people. And so he thought all of it was funny too, except the kiss. He does not like his face being grabbed, and obviously like kissing someone.
And he grabbed his face and kissed it.
Yeah, and obviously someone kissing you without your
consent.
Yeah,
yeah. He did ask for consent to smack his butt though.
He did. I
won't say that.
Thankfully, it was Wes, though. Like, because if he had done that to someone else, he could have gotten in a lot of trouble.
He was...
I mean, me and you were dying laughing.
We were cracking up. If Wes would have looked at me like, I'm going to punch this guy in the face, I would have been like...
Yeah. Yeah, I would have been like...
But I think he was just in shock.
He was in shock, and he was just like, what is happening? Yeah. And he kept being like... And so when he, like, after that part, we were like, you probably should sit down. Sit down.
Because he kept asking him
to hit him.
If he could, like,
Not like, I mean, hit his butt.
But, like, we were like, Wes, sit down. And then he stopped bothering us after that. I wouldn't say bother. Right. We were getting a kick out of it.
We were dying.
But he stopped coming over to us, and he left his beer there. And so he just set his beer on the table that he had been sitting at.
Yeah, we're like... Here.
But it was empty, and his friends weren't sitting there anymore. They were just mingling. And then he just walked up like 10 minutes later and grabbed the beer and drank it. And we were like, how does he know it's his?
Like, after all that, like, how gone he was, I was like, how does he know that was his beer?
There's no way.
But I was like, he doesn't know where he left it. So, like, he couldn't have known it was at our table when we moved it. He wouldn't have even known. You know what I mean? Yeah. He wouldn't have been like, wait, where's my beer?
He was too far gone.
Yeah. And I think there was one other time he, like, made eye contact with Wes and came over and, like, gave him a fist bump.
Yeah, he started, like, staring at him.
Yeah.
And then he came over and gave him a fist bump and was like...
I like Wes or something.
He's like, Wes is my man. Don't steal him.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well.
Well, we're married.
Better get those divorce papers. Like, what? Like, I was just in there. I don't even think he knew we were married. I don't think he could. Yeah. I don't even think he could read it because he was just that gone.
No, yeah. And then he asked if he could buy him a drink.
Yeah.
And Wes was like, no. He was like, I was like, he's driving. And then he was like, oh, well, I can get you a water. Do you want sweet tea or water? You guys... I don't even think this bar has sweet tea.
I was like, do they have sweet tea?
I was like, okay.
Man, I haven't laughed that hard in a long time.
It was hysterical.
Of course, we were like, Wes, are you okay? But, like, we were all laughing, like, really loud. Like, it was obviously entertaining. It was...
His friend was, like, jaw on the floor when he kissed him. He was like... Oh my gosh.
One of his friends did come up and apologize to us. He's like, I am so sorry. And
I don't know who invited him. I didn't invite him.
And I was like, hey,
it's okay.
I think he's trying to steal my husband. That's okay.
I'm secure in the marriage, though.
I'm secure with this one. Yeah. I'm like, I think that Wes is... I think we're good.
Yeah.
It's been an eventful week. I don't know what's happening.
Well, because then Darcy was supposed to get groomed. And then they were like, oh, her... rabies vaccine expired like a week ago, and I was like, dang it. And then we had to go get her
also
rabies
a
vaccine.
week ago, of course.
I know,
like you didn't schedule
so close.
Let's hope nothing happens this evening. We still have, knock on wood, everyone.
Knock on wood. That was me knocking on wood. Anyways, all right.
So yeah, sorry, we had a lot going on, and we wanted to, some misfortunes, some just hilarious.
Oh, also I'm buying a car.
Oh yeah, Felina's getting a car.
I bought a car.
Bought or buying? It's happening.
I have the money in my possession.
Yes.
And we're just waiting for the guy to pick up the other car so that he has a vehicle.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's exciting. She's upgrading.
I know. I'm finally going to have a car that's not as old as I am.
That car is young. Your car's younger than I am. Which is crazy.
True. That's true.
It's crazy.
It's true. All right. Well, we're going to get into it. There's no good way to segue from our crazy lives to...
You want to hear something even crazier? Skinwalkers. We talked about this. We're working on our segues.
We're bad at segues. We're just going to jump right into it. Alrighty. So, Skinwalkers.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm sure by now we've all heard or seen videos on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, Facebook about like a skinwalker or like that girl on the plane. Like, that man is not real. He's a skinwalker. What? I didn't see this. Yeah, there's a TikTok of like this girl who like literally got off of a plane because there was a quote skinwalker.
Can you imagine if you were that guy? Just being like, what
right? Like what? Well, okay, so
unless it wasn't him.
So that we're gonna get into the traditional skinwalker and what it is.
You know, honestly, I don't know that well. You were explaining to me a little bit the other day, and I was like, honestly, what are they?
Yeah. I didn't really know what they were. Everything I knew about them was basically the videos on like TikTok and Instagram and stuff. Of like you see something running towards you, and then a tree is in the way, and it goes past the tree, and then it's teeny tiny little dog, or
right.
Like right now on TikTok, you look up a bunch of stuff about it, and it's like this creepy face. Like looking at you in your house, or doing this or that or the other. And so we're going to get in a little later about like misconceptions about it.
Okay.
But the traditional skinwalker, also, sorry, trigger warning for everybody. We're going to say that word a lot.
Oh, we kind of already did.
But it comes from the Navajo Nation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's translated into skinwalker from Naldlushi. I think I said that right. Naldlushi. I Google pronounced it. But yeah, so basically it's a harmful or evil witch that possesses the ability to shapeshift into animals.
Oh, just animals?
Just animals.
Oh, for the traditional one.
Okay. What? Yeah. Animals. They perform malevolent ceremonies. And they like contrast or like try to counteract like the good work of the medicine people.
Okay.
In the Navajo Nation.
So they're like the wizard. Well, no, wizards I guess wouldn't be. I was trying to think of an analogy, but never mind.
Yeah, like they're witches.
Right, like there's people protecting, and then there's the witches, and
they're the evil. Yeah. So some misconceptions. Skinwalkers are shapeshifters who killed their families or loved ones. So like they were a shapeshifter, and they become a skinwalker by killing family or loved ones.
Oh, so you can start out as a shapeshifter. Not necessarily be bad, but then if you kill your family members...
That's a misconception.
Oh, that's a misconception. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. You just said that. That's a misconception. Okay. Do tell.
So that's what a lot of like mainstream, like that's like the main thing that you'll see on like social media right now is that, it's a shapeshifter who's killed their loved ones.
Okay.
And so they turn into a skinwalker. No, that's not what it is.
Okay.
And I'll tell you how skinwalkers come to be a little later. Another one is that skinwalkers are a wendigo, which a wendigo is an evil spirit or a cannibalistic monster. And they stalk and eat humans. Or they can also they can be like a beast that stalks and eats humans, or they can be like a spiritual being that like possesses people and it turns them into cannibals. That's not a skinwalker. That's a wendigo. They're not the same thing.
They're not the
same. Sorry. Another misconception, which Hannah kind of touched on, is that skinwalkers can take on any appearance. They can turn into a human. They can turn into like anything they want to turn into. They can turn into it. No, they only do animals, and a lot of times they pick like the same animal. They have like the same animal. Like it's like, oh, I'm gonna turn into
their
this.
go-to
like,
animal.
It's like, yeah, they got their go-to.
They got their go-to animal.
They got their favorites. You know, they're like, oh, it's like you're playing Fortnite. This is my favorite skin.
This is my favorite skin that I wear.
So I think I'm gonna be this. But yeah, they have a lot of times they only appear as like a couple of animals because I don't know. I guess they just like those animals. So
yeah, maybe it like takes a while to learn like how to move around as that animal. So then once they learn, they just like, because if you're a squirrel or something,
yeah,
you know than, like a dog
or
something.
Yeah,
but or like because you climb with a squirrel, and they don't do that as a dog. So maybe once they get used to something, they're just like, okay, cool. I'm comfortable with this.
This is what I'm more familiar with. I don't know.
Interesting.
Another misconception, mainly about how skinwalkers come to be, is that skinwalkers are made, not born, which is kind of true. But they're made by if you're a human and you get bitten by a skinwalker, they'll infect you with their poison, and then you become a skinwalker.
Okay.
This is not true.
So like a vampire situation here, almost like they bite you.
Yeah, like kind of like. Yeah, and then there's also a lot of stuff on the internet about like you kill a skinwalker with silver and
a werewolf sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's like I think like it's the same thing as like a wooden stake through the heart for like you put anything through the heart, you're gonna kill it. Like you put a wooden stake through anyone's heart, it's gonna die. You know, like you stab anyone with a silver sword, they're gonna die. Right. Like in the heart.
But are they gonna stay dead?
Well, yeah.
What? Girl, haven't you watched Supernatural? You gotta kill the things with the right things.
I know.
I'm just messing with you.
And we'll get into some defense theories.
Okay.
But yeah. So the Navajo Skinwalker, there's the Navajo Skinwalker, which is like where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the quote white man Skinwalker. And they're kind of they're different. Mainly the encounters and stuff. And I will say everything I read about the Skinwalkers from like the Navajo perspective, there was always something in there about, well, we only share what we feel comfortable sharing, or
right.
Like we're not going to share as much with you if you're not a native, or if we like don't know you and trust you, because you don't understand our cultural values. You don't understand, like, it's like the lack of cultural knowledge. It's not going to make sense to you, or it's going to be misconstrued, or whatever, which I do get that.
I've heard this. Yeah. They keep things kind of close to home.
Yeah. They don't really share much. They're not really supposed to talk about skinwalkers with any, like, they don't really talk about it amongst each other. I mean, like some, but like much, but like, especially with outsiders, they don't really like any knowledge we have on a skinwalker from a Navajo. Yeah. Not is the full like story, it's not like it's been their elders are you can say this, you can't say that, you can say no, you can't say that, you can't say that, you can't, but you can say this one. But like it's very heavily like this is what you're allowed.
They
to
can't
share.
tell the full story, essentially.
And I was watching sorry, I got like cinnamon in my throat now. But I was watching this YouTube channel, the Sean Klin Shadow Productions. Okay. He's a guardian of the Navajo Nation. Or I can't remember if he was a guardian. I know he was like training to be a guardian, I'm pretty sure. But his brother and his uncle were guardians, and he was training with them. Okay. And so I kind of got lost in the sauce on his YouTube channel. I scared myself a little bit.
Literally me.
I was home alone, and I was like, I'm scared.
I know.
But he even said, what I'm sharing with you, like he would say, I was going to share this, but the elders told me I can't share that one. So I'm going to share this one with you instead. And he was like, and that's all I'm comfortable saying. He said, I'm not here to convince anybody that skinwalkers are real. You have your beliefs. I have mine. Right. But so I'm just going to share with you like the experiences that I've had. And I'm only going to share with you the experiences that I've had that like aren't going to cause me emotional distress. Right. Like they're not going to cause me, and I'm paraphrasing him, but like they're not going to bring back nightmares from what I've seen what I've witnessed them doing to children and other humans, but like he really stressed the humans or the children aspect of it. So I feel like he's maybe seen some stuff. Anyways, that was a little sidetrack. We'll get back. We'll come back to Sean Klin later.
We'll be back, Sean.
So the Navajo Skinwalker.
Okay.
Any story or tale that you hear about it's usually gonna be a life or death struggle.
Okay.
It's like, like a Navajo is gonna end up killing the Skinwalker, or the Skinwalker is gonna end up killing the Navajo. It's like this battle.
Okay.
There's this battle that took place, and it was basically like the good forces, like the pure forces, were like trying to drag out the evil forces, and they were like in tunnels. And there's a story about like they had the thunder like coming down on the mountain that they were in, and like driving them. So like the good ones went in the tunnel or the caves, and they like drove them out.
Like the good people, or like the good Skinwalkers?
No, there's not good Skinwalkers.
Oh, okay. I was confused for a second. I was like, wait, they're good Skinwalkers?
No, there's like good and evil.
Good and evil forces. Okay.
So the good forces and then the evil forces were the Skinwalkers. So the good forces were driving them out of the tunnels and up the mountain.
Okay.
And then like the thunder was like coming down, and I can't remember if it's like the thunder gods or the thunder people or whatever. They were basically like striking them with like thunder and lightning and stuff. And then it like burned some of the trees. But they were able to like get rid of the evil that way. And like that battle was like on the land that he had seen. So like battles, is what you're dealing with. And if it doesn't end in a death, then it ends in a stalemate. Okay. And they both live and like whatever. And usually the Navajo tales include like a Skinwalker is approaching the Hogan or Hogan, I can't remember, which is basically like a traditional dwelling place for the Navajo. Like it's like a house.
Okay.
So then like the Skinwalker will be approaching them, trying to, do its witchy evil stuff. And then it gets like run off by the Navajo.
Okay.
So that's their Skinwalker, right? And then the white man white man mainstream Skinwalker that we all hear about it's usually someone is in a vulnerable position, and it's typically on the road somewhere.
Oh.
And they're being approached by a Skinwalker. And then somehow the person escapes in like a non-traditional way. Like it's not like a battle. Like they tell them to go away, or like they'll like try and ignore them or whatever. And anytime a Navajo children hear about this story, like stories from like this perspective of it, like there's no great battle, nobody like everybody lives, the Skinwalker goes on his way and you go on your way, and it's just like a spooky story that you had to tell. Like so anytime they hear about that, they typically label these stories as the folklore, the hook. Which the hook is a faceless silhouette that wears a raincoat, and he attacks couples in parked cars. And he's got the hook part comes in where he kills them with a pirate like hook.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's that folklore.
Huh.
Which if you look in contrast to, there's usually a battle, they're trying to harm you, or you have to defend yourself, versus you're vulnerable and they just kind of walk up on you, and then you tell them to go away, they go away, or you ignore them and you drive off and you're good. Like that's not typically how it happens.
Oh, sorry.
But if you look at the contrast versus the hook, if it's typically on the road, it does kind of look more like that, you know? But so there's the difference.
Interesting.
In what, that was something that.
So when like this view, like when they're talking about like the non-traditional way where they try to escape and stuff, like what do they see? Do they see like just a person, or do they actually see like a person turn into an animal, or is this just like, oh, I saw a Skinwalker because this, Like, what are they seeing when they see this thing on the road?
So that's the thing too, is like, I feel like with, well, quote, white man's Skinwalker is like,
what do they see? Yeah.
It's like a human acting weird, or a deer that stretches its back, or which like a lot of like, it could just be a shapeshifter, like,
yeah,
that's not necessarily a Skinwalker, like, put it this way, how like we live in Kentucky, but like, so with like the bourbon and whiskey, like I can't remember how it goes, but like all bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon.
Yeah.
Type of thing. All Skinwalkers are shapeshifters, but not all shapeshifters are Skinwalkers.
Right. So we're just saying like, oh, that person was acting so weird, they're a Skinwalker. It's like not like an actual like. It could be that person is under the influence of something, not necessarily.
Right.
Like it's not like they saw something necessarily like that person turned in from like an animal to a human. It's like they're just like that person was okay.
Yeah. So like a lot of times it's like, oh, that person was acting weird, or
right.
that person got down and started walking on all fours.
Okay, well,
like,
yeah, that's weird. But
like, yeah, that's weird. But like, they didn't transform into something else.
Right.
Yeah, sure, they were like scaring the crap out of you.
Well,
but
the guy
like,
the other night started crawling around on the ground. So was he a Skinwalker?
He did it like twice. He was trying to kiss his friend's shoe, and then he started doing like a push-up competition. It was
so
he was a hoot.
So we experienced a Skinwalker.
Right. No, but like sometimes it's spooky, and it's like
it's
that
disturbing.
Deer shouldn't be doing that. Like why is it acting like that?
But there's always an exception. Like animals acting weird and humans acting weird. Like,
well, but like no, like you see a video of like a deer, literally its back starts to like stretch.
Oh no!
Yeah, and it's like what? But that's
like Laffy Taffy stretching out.
Well, but that's not necessarily. It can't possibly be a Skinwalker based off of the geographical location of it.
Oh, okay. And
we'll get into that as well with Sean Clin's Shadow Productions.
All right, we're back to Sean.
He said, I am just here to give information, you know?
Right.
Like I said, he's not trying to convince anybody. He just kind of was getting fed up with the misinformation that was out there about Skinwalkers.
This is actually what we believe.
You can't label everything a Skinwalker,
right.
Like you just can't.
That's not how they, act or behave or whatever. I get it.
Yeah. Well, and he even was like, like just people say, there's a Skinwalker and they live in an urban neighborhood.
Right. Like, no.
In like Texas. That's not going to happen.
Right.
That's just not like, or in California, like on the East Coast, or like, like there's not
evidence for that.
Yeah. Anyway, so his brother and uncle are guardians of the Navajo Nation, or Navajo, sorry. And he said that Skinwalkers are actually medicine people in training, and there's a certain point in your training that you go up to there's like canyons all over, right? And so you go up to a canyon, and it's, if you walk one way, then you're a medicine person, you're for like good. If you walk the other way, you become a Skinwalker or a Yinadleshi,
Oh.
Or Yinadlushi.
So you literally choose like a path you want to go down.
Like you choose which direction you walk in.
Okay.
And a lot of times the people who like obviously choose the evil side are like not really
accept like
it's
bad.
bad.
Do they like kick them out, or do they like just
I don't really know.
Or do they just go on their way?
I think they just kind of go on their own little way because they chose that path, and then they're like training in that path now. Yeah. And there's like, he said he went through like caves and stuff, and they saw markings and like rituals and stuff like that, which to show that it was active, and that this is what was like causing this tribe like so much like harm.
Okay.
And then they would, like, sorry, I just hit my mic. They would like perform their rituals. They would investigate, and he told about one. I'm not going to go into too much detail because one, it's not my story to share. If you want to look at it, go check out his YouTube. It's literally Sean Clin Shadow Productions. If you type in Skinwalkers, he's like the first thing to pop up.
Okay.
But they basically, they would like they did their investigation and opened some chests and found like trapped soul, you know, like where like they opened a chest and just a scream was let out and there's a picture of a lady and some like there was like a bone of some kind that was like contrasting the like medicine people and like, well, really their culture in general. Like there is a contrast. I can't remember exactly what it was. Okay. But then there's like another chest and it was like they opened that and it was just like, it was like they have like these, it's almost like a notepad, but like the buckskin with like bones and stuff and like blood drops for each person that they've killed and like the Skinwalker markings and all that stuff on it. And he said he was in like the presence of it, like his brother brought it out. He had to stay outside because whatever was in there could potentially make him sick.
Oh my gosh.
Due to like, you know, I guess the witchcraft or whatever. Yeah. Like it could be like something that they used to make him sick because he was still training. And his brother brought him out because you have to burn it. You have to burn the skin. Right. The buckskin out and like showed it to him and he like physically got sick from it, just from like the evilness that like that he felt from it. Like, so then they like did their little thing with it, but yeah, so basically
they like burned it and stuff and
they burned it. Well, they burn it because
does burning it kill the Skinwalker?
So not, well, sort of, yes. Okay. So with like the Navajo, it's you know, they use every part of the animal. Right. They use it for good. They make sure they like
use it to some
purpose. Honor the life that was taken from that. Yeah. So he basically explained whenever an animal, the buck, is killed and used for evil, it's ticked. It's like mad. It wants its revenge, you know? And so by burning it, you're summoning the spirit of the buck. Okay. By burning the skin.
Interesting. That
was used for evil. You're summoning the spirit of the buck, and then the buck goes and like gets its revenge. So kind of, in a way it does like. Okay. I don't know if it necessarily kills it, but it harms it. The buck goes and
kills the Skinwalker?
Yeah.
Like, or like harms it?
Yeah. So he said like they burned it, and you know, there was like, you'd see shadowy figures like around like just where the light like stopped. Oof. And you could see these shadowy figures like pacing and stuff.
Heck no.
And then like his brother was performing a ritual, and it was, once he got towards the end, they just started running because they knew what was going to happen. And then after the spirit of the buck was released, they heard like a scream not very far, like after that, like, well, it was far off in the distance back towards the canyon where their cave was or whatever. But it was, it was pretty.
That's spooky ooky.
Yeah, it is spooky. I know. And listening to it, I was like, and the music behind it, I was like,
to it on my own. I know. I'd be like, nope.
But gosh. Yeah. So they basically. He also said like. I was a little confused at this part. I'm not gonna lie. So if you know more information about it, like, feel free to reach out and let me know.
Yeah, tell us about
them. But it was like, are they like physical beings or are they spiritual beings? You know, because he kept saying like, you know, in the spiritual realm. So like, I don't know if they were like spiritual creatures. Like, obviously they're physical enough.
Yeah, it seems
but that's like, again, like I am already biased towards the videos I saw on like, oh, the Skinwalker just transformed into a dog, you know, like.
Right. Well, because it doesn't say that like they die when they choose the other path and become like a spiritual being, because like they're medicine people, right, that are training.
Yeah, from what I understood,
it sounds like that they're still physical beings, maybe that have a lot of spiritual crap going on.
That have like the ability to like.
But I could be wrong. I don't know.
I don't know. I could also be very wrong. You know, like I could have misspoke or whatever. But So I wasn't sure about that. If you guys have more information about that, let me know. But basically, the reason that most of the Skinwalker sightings that we see are not Skinwalkers is because they like gather in Colorado. Okay. Arizona and New Mexico.
Okay, we're safe.
And that's it. That's like all he mentioned. He was like, there's a place in Colorado and Arizona and New Mexico
where this stuff happens.
And they like go around that area.
Okay.
Well, so like if New York isn't going to have a Skinwalker. You know, like it's going to be something else.
Right. Like because if these are medicine people or like witches that have like gone off, like how far are they going to go?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, I guess they could travel
theoretically sure, but like the odds are slim because it's like it's the Navajos training. Like they're Navajo people who are trained in this way. So if it's a Skinwalker, it's literally,
why would they be in New York?
Why would they go to New York? They wouldn't. That's something else, you know, basically is what he's saying.
And also, like, if they're animals or if they turn into animals, it'd be kind of obvious to be walking through a city like as a deer or like, you know what I mean? Like, or like as a, you know, well, squirrels are sure. Yeah. You know, you see them everywhere, but like, why would you also change into a squirrel? Like that's just something I'm throwing out there, but interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So he also said like, so they put these cans as markings like other Skinwalkers do of like, hey, if you need a place to hide, here's these like caves entrances. And so he said they're usually like really small, and then in order for a Skinwalker to get in, he has to like do this ritualistic song. I guess a Skinwalker can be a she too. Sorry. But they have to do like a ritualistic song, and then it opens up the tunnels, and then they can go in and hide out. But they use like cans as a marker. And so he was talked about how him and his family, they were visiting like their grandma, and they saw a can on their property, and they were like, oh no. And then so they went, and that was like his first encounter. It's you guys can go watch it. He's got some video, but that. Speaking of video, there's another thing about like, why don't you have any like video or pictures or whatever? And he was like, well, a lot of times, a lot of these stories I'm telling you about happened when I was like 10 years ago, and I didn't have one, you know, like I just didn't have one, you know?
Right.
Because he was younger, and everybody gets a phone at a different age. So he didn't necessarily have a camera on him.
They're also like witches. So like, I feel like, if they didn't want you to see, they could do anything that they wanted.
Right.
It's not like just like a Sasquatch or like a... Yeah. Like in this case, like, you know, like a Sasquatch or like another animal that supposedly is spotted out there, like a creature. It's like an actual like witch who's like performing rituals and stuff. So I feel like either one, they could stop you from doing that and like paralyzing you, or two, they could like maybe corrupt the...
They could go in and like make you sick and get you... Yeah. You have to have like a healing, whatever. Yeah. Ritual. But... Yeah. So that was just another thing too that he brought up. He was like, I didn't have
that
one.
Stuff.
Also, whenever you're you're scared too. Like,
and you're sick, like you said, if you get sick.
Yeah, you're not going to want, you're scared. You're not worried about videotaping it. You're worried about defending yourself. Yeah. You know, like that's not necessarily the first thing on your mind. But, yeah, so he went, into like, he talked about like going into like the caves to see if they were like active, you know, because especially on the canyons, you're like, oh, that's probably where they go to like figure this out, right? And he said the further that he would go into like the caves, the more evil he could just feel, like covering him,
like the oppression.
And like the more and more like your good memories just kind of slip away. You know, it's just like just evil and dark. And it's just, and then you walk in and he's, you know, you see bones, and some of them are potentially human bones. And it's like, oh my gosh, you know, like, so something's killing him, you know? But yeah, that was
creepy.
Yeah. Another thing that he touched on was that like what exactly they do. And he talked about an experience that he had, sleeping outside. You know, they were going to build a new Hogan for his like grandparents so that they all could stay in it whenever they went there. And they didn't bring enough tents, and so him and his uncle were going to sleep in the truck, but he's a tall dude. Right. So his uncle was like, here, just take my mat, put it in the bed of the truck, you can sleep there. And he was like, cool. So he slept there, and he talked about he had an encounter there, and he talked about like the paralysis like that he experienced. Like they had worked their way into his mind so much that he like literally couldn't move.
He couldn't move.
Yeah.
So they could do that to you, like we're saying, like to stop you from filming.
Yeah. And but that's even what like he was talking about, like I completely just lost my train of thought, but that's okay. We'll just move on, I guess.
We'll just move on.
So he like literally, it took everything in him to turn and see it, turn his head and see it, and then he was reaching for his sword, which is what they use. He was reaching for his sword, and he was like taking everything in him, and as he was reaching for the sword, the Skinwalker was reaching towards him, and he touched his sword and it ran away.
Oh.
Like he touched it, it ran away, whatever like juju spell, whatever it had on him, like went away, and he was able to move, and he like knocked on the window to wake up his uncle, and was like,
So do the Navajos see them as like the animal form, or like does the like people form? Like, do they say, or is it like always something different?
Well, he said it was like he saw the silhouette of him, and then a coyote head with like, I hit my microphone, sorry, with like red eyes.
Oh.
Yeah, and he could see the silhouette.
So it's like a hybrid thing?
Almost, I guess. I don't really know. He didn't touch on that much. I mean, I think they've seen multiple.
Yeah.
I think they can see both,
Interesting.
But yeah. That's
creepy.
It paralyzed him. So they can paralyze you, they can make you sick, they can kill you, they can entrap your souls, which is why wild. They heard like a woman scream whenever they opened up the one chest. It was like.
So do they like kill people and then take their souls, or do they like kill them by taking their souls? Like, I'm confused by that. Like, how do you?
They kill them and then they like trap their souls, and then it's like this evil and
So like that soul can't move on.
Right.
To wherever.
Right. And it's just like, they literally are just evil,
Right.
But he also mentioned that one of the reasons that it probably ran off like that once he touched his sword was the legend has it is once the sun hits them, and if they're in animal form, they get stuck in animal form. Oh. Whatever animal they're in, they're stuck like that.
Okay. So you can't see them as an animal in the daylight.
If you do, you're seeing in one that's been stuck.
Oh, but they're stuck, so they can't like come back into.
Because once the dawn, I think it's like once the dawn touches them, they're stuck like that.
Okay, so they're just an animal.
And he said the sun was starting to rise.
Okay.
So
if
I think they're still witches. They're just in an animal.
So can they do they have powers still, or they're just an animal?
I would imagine so, because they have powers while they're an animal at night. So like they could have power. So they could
still be an animal. They would just be an animal with like powers. Okay.
Yeah, they just can't transform anymore ever again.
Okay. Okay.
So one might be thinking, what if I do encounter a Skinwalker? Say I'm in the area and I see one. What do I do?
Yeah, what do we do?
Well, for starters, you probably can't do much.
Wonderful. I thought you were gonna help.
Pray? I don't know, but
please help.
I'll get into like what Sean Klin said to do.
Okay.
But he talked about swords, which are basically just katanas.
Okay.
And he's like, these aren't traditional, items you would find or weapons you would find for.
Unless you're Hannah
anyone,
and you have Lord of the Rings really, props in your house.
Yeah. But like anyone really, like you're not going to have that on you.
No, you're not going to just be carrying a sword.
That's not going to be something you have, And they're also not common for like the Navajo people, like they're not like they don't use steel weapons. They use like rocks and that they like chisel and whatever, know. But he said whenever they like start like their guardian journey, they like are they choosing which specialty they're gonna have, which weapon they're gonna use for their specialty. So he has a sword and also like bow and arrows. And something about the swords and the bow and arrows he said too is like, well, especially the bow and arrows, it's pierces. You need something that's gonna pierce through to the spiritual world.
Oh, so like don't hit them with like a blunt object. You gotta stab them.
Well, yeah, but like shooting a bullet isn't gonna stop one. You know, like shooting one with a bullet isn't gonna stop one because it doesn't pierce through. Oh, you know, so I don't. That was kind of confusing.
It has to go like through the. Sorry, this is a little graphic. You have to go completely through the body. Like it has to go through. Like cause sometimes bullets don't go through the body; they like get stuck in it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, because I was like, well, I mean, if you pierce them, okay, so that because like a bow and arrow, it's most likely that the arrow is mostly going to go all the way through you.
Right. I guess.
Usually, I guess.
I don't know. His video's up there. He talks about it on how to defend and stuff. If you're more interested in it, anybody go watch it. It was fun. Maybe
you'll be spooked.
Maybe watch it during the day with like someone else.
Yeah. If you're like me, watch it during the day.
Yeah. But so swords, bow and arrows. You need something because a lot of things that you read online about like how do you kill a skinwalker again are silver, and it's like it can't just be silver. It needs to be able to pierce through.
I thought that was a werewolf thing.
Yeah, it is. But something he said that pretty much anyone can use is some ash, but not like any ash. He's talking about like you like can cover your face with or like put it on your face, and it's ash from like a fire, like so you burn a fire and you like pray over it and you like do the ritual over it, and then the ash from that will protect you. Basically. So he's like, get you some ash, you know. Some other sources said to avoid eye contact and try to remain calm because they can like sense your fear, and what kind of like, you know how I don't know if you do. Like Satan can like if you say you're scared, he's gonna make sure you like he's gonna attack more and further and something like that.
Like that's, speaking it out loud. Yeah,
like saying I'm scared out loud is he's gonna like
target
into that. So I kind of I'm very animated today.
We've been animated the last two. We've been like
but yeah, so basically try and remain calm and avoid eye contact.
I was about to say, okay, I'm good when you said avoid eye contact, but then you said remain calm, and I was like, okay, never mind, I'm screwed.
Dang it. There was another thing that said don't whistle at night because they like, I guess they whistle.
They whistle?
And like if you're whistling at night, it's going to draw them to you.
No. Good thing I can't whistle very well.
Yeah.
Although I was whistling for Sky the other night, but I was in my apartment.
But you're also in Kentucky. You're not in their area.
You're right.
But anyways, so another thing that I saw, it was like you can like use salt and iron, you know, like in a circle around you.
I got this. I watched Dean and Sam do this enough.
Think about how much salt that they go through.
I know. Well, they always have like carry those big things of salt and just
think about how much salt they have. Think about the fortune they've spent on salt.
Right. I mean, but at least salt is cheap.
Yeah,
it's something easy to get. I will say that
it is easy to get. Yeah. But then another thing said that you can use sage or cedar, and you can. I'm not sure how reputable any of these are really.
Next time you come over, have like sage burning.
But you can use like sage or cedar. You light it, and then you like draw a circle around you or your campsite or your area, and then you just stay in that circle, and then they can't harm you.
Okay.
So again, I don't know how reputable all of that is. You know, it's kind of hard because it's a Navajo creature,
right?
And we don't know that much about it, you know. So
you're like saying like the ways to like guard yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like wait.
We don't know that much. We can't really say this is how you do it, and we can't even really say like if you think you've encountered a skinwalker, you know, you don't know because
how are you supposed to know unless it like does something to you? That's what I don't understand. Like, how do you?
Yeah, I don't.
Or like you actually see it like change forms.
But then it could just be a shapeshifter. That's what he's saying. Like, unless you're like in the area of like the novel, like it's not gonna be a skinwalker. It's just gonna be a shapeshifter, or maybe it could be a Wendigo. Yeah. But like, it's not the same thing. Basically,
wasn't there like a Japanese version of this that we were watching? Like that video. Remember, it ended up being fake. or was it like a wolf man? But remember when the like woman was like crawling?
No, they said that was
and
like,
then, like
yeah.
And then like stood up. It was freaky. I don't know, but it didn't look real. But I was like, is this like their version or like, I don't know.
That's what he said too. Like there's a lot of reports of, oh, we have this all over the world, or we have this in Mexico, it wouldn't be. And it's like, you don't have skinwalkers.
Yeah, it would be a skinwalker.
You don't have this like in New Mexico or in China or Japan, like whatever, or Japan. Yeah. He's like, you know, it's a Navajo thing. You might have something similar to it, but it's not a skinwalker.
Right, it wouldn't be a skinwalker. Yeah. That's what I meant. Like they had something kind of similar in their lore, but it was like in the middle of a city. So it was like, there was one that was like turned into a dog like creature. Yeah. But the guy ended up being like, yeah, I did this like as a fake thing. But the other one was like the woman just crawling. The lady
like just like,
yeah, I hated
she walked up behind this one lady. Yeah. She walked up behind the one it was creepy.
It was weird.
But she walked up behind her. She wasn't paying attention, so she walked away, and then she kept walking, and then she turned around and then just dropped on all fours, and then the lady was like screaming at her and told her to go away.
And it ran. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it was just a person, but it was weird.
Why was it doing that? Yeah.
Right. Right. But I was like, I think this is fake, but like it freaked me out. I was like, ew, no. This is like anything that starts crawling like that, like a human.
Yeah, I can't. But that's basically what he was saying. He was like, you can't just label something a skinwalker, if you don't know what it is. There's more names for everything. You know, this is a specific thing. This is a specific thing. You can't just lump them all into skinwalker.
Right.
And so he's basically like saying, be more specific.
Do the Navajo say skinwalker, or do they not say the word that they have?
They say Yinadleshi.
Okay. But they say it? Because I know they had something where they're like, they don't even speak it out loud.
Yeah. So, that goes into like they don't really talk about it much.
And like the whistling, because you'll summon them.
If you say it, you like.
Gotcha.
Now they whistle, obviously. You know, that's a big part of their culture.
Not at night. Yeah, but not at night.
Well.
They do, but they...
Yeah, but like...
But they know how to take care of them.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I got. If you have more information on Skinwalker,
let us
know. The Yina Delushi, what? How are you?
I couldn't tell you.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend a culture or anything like that. But if you have any more information, let us know. You can reach out to us at lattespodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on Instagram and Facebook on Lattes on My Mind.
Yeah, and keep voting on our polls. We like that. We like to see what you guys would like to listen to next. And because this one won a poll, so we did Skinwalkers for you all.
This one did win a poll, so whoever voted for it, you're welcome.
Yay! Yeah. Yeah. Well, if I'm going to go home and look at my animals and be like,
I literally was like,
good?
Kiki, are you a Skinwalker?
Right. Are these German Shepherds? That would be a good thing to choose. That's all I'm saying. And there is a supernatural episode where there's a shapeshifter, not a Skinwalker, that turns into a German Shepherd. So you kind of got to look at them.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, you're like, what you doing?
My animal is creeping me out. Stay safe out there, people.
Stay safe from your animals.